The Nonprofit Podcast. Tools, tips, and tactics to take your organization to the next level. The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by DonorBox.
Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Cara, fundraising coach at DonorBox. We're here each week with practical actions you can use today to confidently take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. The donate button is not enough. Online giving grows year over year. Adding a great donation page in addition to that donate button spotlights your important cause and motivates donors to give or even increase their gift. For many nonprofit leaders, founders, and fundraisers, though, tech can be scary, but it really doesn't have to be. Today, we're talking about some common and costly mistakes on nonprofit donation pages. Plus, we have some quick fixes for you, too. We're talking about simple suggestions you can put into practice today to make sure your giving forms work well and look great to raise more money to keep your mission going. I'm joined by Bobbi-Jo Rockstrom, DonorBox account manager. Bobbi has worked in online marketing and account management for a variety of industries. She loves sharing industry best practices and working with clients to make sure they are using the tools available to them. She works with DonorBox clients every day and has a keen eye for what works and what doesn't when it comes to online fundraising. She will walk us through a couple of valuable donation page pointers, and she has some great tips so that your donors have a positive experience and will remember you next time. Bobbi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here today.
So, donation pages. This is a topic that is relevant to most organizations for sure. But first, for clarity, we throw around several of these terms a lot: donation button, donation pages, and donation form. Let's see if I've got this right to help clarify. So, I have an analogy. Your donate button is like a doorbell to your home. Your donors click it much like a guest would ring a doorbell when coming into your home. Then your donation page is like your welcome mat. It provides a nice, welcoming place for them to stand, and they can look around and get a feel for what you're all about. And then your donation form is like crossing the threshold into your home. That's where they make that donation. It's where they put a foot into your organization with that transaction or that gift. So, just as you prepare your home for guests, as an organization, you'd want to keep these things on point too. Keep your button, your donation page, and your giving form up to date and welcoming. Does that sound about right?
That was beautifully put. Absolutely correct.
So, Bobbi, you look at a lot of donation pages every day. What is the number one thing most organizations get wrong when it comes to their donation page?
Well, I think the biggest mistake someone can make with their donation page is not making it extremely accessible. And this may sound like a very easy concept, but I think it is commonly overlooked, and we miss a couple of very important steps of the journey, which is getting the donor to the form. This could mean making sure there is a button on your website header or having the form above the fold, meaning the top part of your website seen without needing to scroll down further. And in general, taking the time and consideration to think, how can we make this even more easy at any step of the donor's journey on my website? And regarding the page itself, I would say another very easy mistake is not adding any or enough context about your organization. Depending where your donation page is displayed or how someone is coming across it, especially if it's a convenient shareable link that might be floating through email or across social media, it could be extremely valuable and beneficial to have maybe a couple of brief statements highlighting your mission or what the donations support. I know you are the queen of putting these together, Cara, or images showcasing your mission and what the words on the page are actually translating to in reality. And in this case, I 100% believe a picture is worth 1,000 words. So even keeping it simple can be extremely impactful.
Going back to your comment about highlighting your mission and showing what donations support, Bobby, you and I often pair up to provide organizations with donation page reviews. And I think what you were referring to is that I encourage most of the organizations that pop in for these sessions to briefly explain where the money goes when supporters give. So, for example, instead of just saying give now or support us on your website and on your giving page, which we do see a lot of, a better approach would be to say, every $5 provides after school snacks for 10 kids each week. And these would obviously be specific to each organization, but it's really helpful to paint a picture for the supporters as they consider if they want to give and how much they can give to support your mission. So thanks for bringing that up. That was a really good example. So back to the donation page. If I'm a busy professional trying to run my organization, this sounds like a lot of work. It's one more thing to work on. Why does the donation page even matter?
Well, if we start with the extreme of not even having an online donation form, that is a lot of potentially lost donations. This actually reminds me of a while back. I was working with an organization who had just implemented an online donation form, and they told me they used to not have one at all for whatever reason. This just wasn't a priority or common practice for them. But a particular event had occurred that brought a lot of awareness and attention to the general subject of their organization. In this instance, it happened to be a social justice issue. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they actually had people, these potential donors, reaching out to them, emailing them, and asking, how can we donate to you? We want to donate. And it was such a beautiful story, having people reach out and wanting so badly to give their support. But I also couldn't help but imagine how overwhelming that must have felt on top of everything else to turn around and immediately switch gears, not only in search of an online donation platform, but now also how to get that implemented yesterday. And we see this happen all the time in this industry, right? Where there can be a sudden highlight or event that occurs and requires the ability for you as an organization to be suddenly prepared or have the flexibility to quickly and easily shift gears. For example, in recent news, the war in Ukraine or any event really, which could range from a natural disaster to local news or maybe a social or political stir. You just never know. And having an online donation page can be a huge benefit to readily make changes, share links, and get whatever message you're trying to share out there quickly and effectively. And even on a more lighthearted note, if you think about how often people spend scrolling the internet daily, having an online donation form gives you the opportunity to be discovered and receive donations, sometimes without you even having to do much beyond creating and sharing the campaign. Especially if you utilize features like peer to peer, you are giving your organization and your donation page the opportunity to receive donations. Whereas if you didn't have one, you wouldn't even be putting yourself out there for the chance. But even beyond just making sure you have an online donation form, it has to be donor friendly, it has to look nice and be really functional, or you may simply lose donations. A donation page is such an important element of a nonprofit's website and online fundraising efforts, with the ultimate objective of converting visitors into donors. And if you put the effort and time into creating your website and getting those visitors, it is extremely important to make sure your donation page is not only there, but set up for success to receive a steady stream of online donations.
Absolutely. So, a donation page that looks attractive and tells me why I should care should go hand in hand with a donation form that's donor friendly, right? They work together to tell a great story about the organization and they provide a great giving experience. That's like rolling out the welcome mat. Um, okay, so let's turn the tables. Instead of rolling out a welcome mat, what happens if you have a donation page that makes donors want to run away?
Well, ultimately you might not get the donation. And even if you still do, it might result in someone not repeating a donation, especially these days with awareness of online scams and education about internet security. There are factors that might actually cause donors to run away. And I unfortunately see these quite often, such as not having a secure website, non matching branding. I know you recently hosted an amazing podcast on branding the other week, which has great insight on this. But really, anything that may not look right or secure to the donor could lose the donation. Something else to consider is donor convenience, such as, is your form too long and requesting too much information, or isn't mobile optimized? Which, by the way, I believe it is somewhere around 25% of donors donate from a mobile phone. So another important circumstance to keep in mind. But these factors can also negatively impact the experience, and the donor may walk away altogether. So it is really important to consider from a donor's perspective, is it easy and is it safe to donate? One more thing I'll add is in regards to having tracking or analytics of your donation page. This can also help guide you to know how many people are viewing your donation page, donating, and ultimately figuring out your conversion rate.
Conversion rate. So, really quick, for someone who doesn't know, like me, how would you determine or calculate a conversion rate?
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, a conversion rate looks at the percentage of unique donation page visitors that complete the transaction. So, for example, if you get 1,000 visits to your online donation form and 1% convert into donors, you'd have 10 donors. It's definitely data that can be extremely valuable to identify areas to improve. I believe the average conversion rate for a nonprofit's main donation page is somewhere around 15%. And by tracking this data, you can help measure what works for your organization and specific for your form. And trust me, I know thinking about analytics and where to start is very intimidating for a lot of organizations. So if you have questions or need that guidance on how to set it up, our amazing Donor Box team is here to help, and we want to help.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. I really appreciate it. And that makes a lot of sense. A little bit ago, you talked about some donation page mishaps. Perhaps the form is too long or it's requesting way too much information. Those are great things to think about. But what makes a donation page go from just okay or functional to really great? What would you share with an organization if they asked you, what do I need to make sure I include on my donation page?
To me, the difference that can help make a donation page go from functioning to great is the little details. This can mean different things for various organizations and campaigns, but ultimately, putting in the time to update and customize your form or donation page, it's easy to put off cleaning up your donation form and page, but taking the time to make these changes, keep your form up to date, and in translation, give your donors the most recent and relevant information will naturally give your donation page more credibility, relevance, and give you, as the organization, the opportunity to build a stronger connection with your donors as you share more information. A feature Donor Box has that supports this is a crowdfunding page, which has a tab specific for updates from the organization and the option for donors to subscribe specifically to the campaign to get notified about these updates. I think it's a brilliant way to keep your donors continuously interested and in the know, and gives you the platform to share those little details in a consistent and organized fashion.
A lot of small nonprofits look at the big established organizations and think, I could never do that. Some of the things that you just mentioned. These big organizations have a marketing team or a tech team behind them. What would you say to a smaller organization who might be thinking that?
The very first thing I would say is you totally can. It might not be overnight or even on your first try, but it will naturally be a part of your journey to grow and to discover what works best for you. Also, if you already have a donation form on your website or are even listening to this and putting in the work to add a donation page, you are already on the right path and heading in the right direction. It is very easy to get overwhelmed by the details or the unknowns, but keeping it simple and true to your mission should be the most natural and the best place to start. The second thing I would say is lean on your donation platform providers or other partners. If you are unsure of how certain features work, if you're fully utilizing everything available to you, don't know where to start, they likely will have the specific expertise or resources to help give you that leg up on building your campaign and give direction on where to start and even what to utilize next.
That is
I
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I walk nonprofits through their donation tools all the time. And it is my favorite thing to help an organization make that connection between the tools they have available to them and the power and value of utilizing them. Properly utilizing the tools available to you is invaluable and sometimes just takes another opinion or suggestion to help those tools make a larger impact without always needing a full tech team or marketing team behind you.
That's great. I know I have been in the chair of the nonprofit and trying to figure all those out, and it really can be intimidating. So, relying on the partners is a really, really good piece of information.
Absolutely.
So, you work with organizations of all different sizes every day. What is one piece of advice you give the most that somebody listening today could put into action right away?
Such a great question. And again, as simple as this may sound, the best piece of advice I can give is to test your donation form and not just by yourself or on your own, although testing your own form is very important. You know the intention and what the message is supposed to be. So the best test is to ask someone else to go through the steps. Maybe this is a coworker or a friend. Ask them to go through the steps. See if they can locate your donation form within seconds. Do they understand where the donation is going, what the campaign is about? Getting this direct feedback can be extremely beneficial and potentially make the difference between having a very clear and direct donation form compared to a form that may actually make someone run away. And on that note, there are also many technical articles and resources out there that can help guide you through more specifics and things to consider with each step of your donation form. So I'm more than happy to share some of those, but I challenge everyone to walk through their donation form with someone unfamiliar with it, collect that real and honest feedback to find out what could make that donor experience even better.
Even better. I love it. Yes, test out that form, ask someone to do it for you and give you that valuable feedback. That is awesome. Thank you. These are common sense approaches. They can and they do fall through the cracks sometimes, causing costly mistakes and missed opportunities, but not with you around, Bobbi-Jo. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I would love to do this again and talk more about strategy next time. So we went through some of the basics today, and I'd like to go deeper next time. So I would love it if you'd come back.
And thank you so much for having me. I look forward to seeing all of the stellar donation page updates to come and potentially having a round two.
And thank you for choosing to spend time with the Nonprofit Podcast today. Spending a little time right now taking your donation form from just functional to great can be a powerful tool in your toolbox and can make you really shine and raise more money. So I hope this short session leaves you with confidence to make a few quick, easy changes today to take your nonprofit to the next level tomorrow. And be sure to check out the show notes today. We have a blog post on donation page best practices there for you and the link to find us in the Donor Box Knowledge community. Send your questions to Bobbi-Jo in the community, or you can simply drop a note in saying that you'd like to have your donation page reviewed, and we will do it. Don't forget to download and review the podcast today, or give a thumbs up if you're watching it on YouTube. You're here to help others, and we're here to help you. Until next time, stay inspired.
The Nonprofit Podcast, powered by DonorBox, helping you help others.